This conference will now be recorded.
So, are you clear with yesterday's topic, Mike?
Yes, today, yes, I think yes. Yes, we talked about yes, we talked about the super. Yes.
Yes, exactly. You can able to see my screen, right?
Yes. Oh, by the way, Anita, she fixed the recording. Now, yeah, this morning I was able to see all there were some previous recording. Now I can access.
Okay, I think what she done, she made that as a private, maybe mistakenly. So that is
Yeah, maybe. Yeah.
that's not much to worry. We have seen super with brackets and super with a keyword. So super with brackets is used to call your parent class constructor, right?
Yes. Call yes. Yeah, we talk about it. Yes.
And you remember the constructors concept, right? So what is the
Yes.
constructors concept? So for example, I'm not talking about super. So I'm just trying to interlink that. So in a constructor concept, when your compiler will write one parameter, will write zero parameter constructor in your class. I'm talking about constructors topic, what we had discussed previous classes. So I'm asking when your compiler will write a zero parameterized constructor in your class.
When yeah, but
Your compiler,
when you basically when you create the object, you create the
yes,
object, and then at the same time the compiler will create the constructor, and also at the same time it will call that constructor. That
yes,
is
yes.
the default. It will call a default constructor.
Yes. So I have a class and I'm just writing a main method and I'm creating an object, right?
Mm,
In this class, I don't have a constructor. But what happens? Your compiler will create a constructor for me,
mm,
right?
yeah.
So if I have a constructor like this, some one parameterized constructor is there. So can I able to write this now? No, right?
No. Mm,
Because whenever you are having before case I don't have constructor, so now compiler will create. But in a class, if I have any constructor, your compiler will not create a zero parameterized constructor, right?
yeah.
Yes, the same concept here with a super. A small recall, yesterday we have seen that.
So yeah, I just go to get a cup of water and come back.
Yes, take your time.
Okay, thank you. hi. Yes. So yeah, I'm back.
Yes. So in this case, I have a super example class and what we have seen yesterday, and super example, one parameterized constructor, and I am creating a zero parameterized constructor in this case. So if you see there was an error, can you tell me why that error? There was an error over here, right? At 31st line. Can you tell me why that error, Mike?
Can you go down, please?
I am creating an object with zero parameter constructor, and I have that zero parameterized constructor in my child. But you see an error, right? Can you tell me why? What is that? Why there was an error?
Can you go to the top, please?
Yes.
Go to the top, please. Yeah. Yes. 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 Please go to the bottom.
Bottom.
Bottom. Yes. Okay. Yes. I think the arrow is because you comment out the parent class parent what's that zero. Yes, zero super example zero parameter constructor, because you comment out it. If you uncomment this part, it should the arrow should be gone.
Yes, exactly,
That's
Mike.
that's my understanding. Yeah.
What your understanding is right, Mike. But I just want some explanation from you so that I can make sure that you understand the concept. Why?
Yes.
I made that comment.
Because when you in this example, when you create the object, it's calling the child zero parameter child constructor. But the thing is, the first step indirectly it should create the parent zero parameter constructor first, and then call a child parameter. Why this error happened? Because it couldn't call a parent zero parameter constructor. So that's why it got stuck. It's then it's through an error. That's my understanding.
Whatever you're telling, exactly you're telling, but you're not telling one point that I was required. So the one point you're telling everything fine, Mike. So you are exactly that. So what I need is nothing but why whatever it cannot able to create the your compiler cannot. So what you said, when you create a child object, first it will create a parent object and it is going to get that properties to the child. So in this case, it cannot able to create a parent object. The reason, because you see, this is the reason, because your parent is having one parameterized constructor. So whenever
yes, it cannot.
Constructor, whenever you save the same example, so if I don't have one parameterized constructor, assume that I don't have this one parameterized constructor in my class.
Yeah, I missed. You are right. I missed this point. This point. Yes.
This is the point. So
I agree.
In this case, I don't have one parameterized constructor, right? So it's like interlinking the concept. So I don't have one parameterized constructor. That is the reason you can create a zero parameterized constructor, because your compiler will write this zero parameterized constructor, because your class is not having any constructors. But when you are having any constructors in your class, for example, I have one parameterized constructor in my class, then my compiler will not write zero parameter.
That's right. Then you cannot do that.
So manually, as a developer, if I want to create a zero parameterized constructor, I need to write this, right? So the same logic over here. So if in this case, why it cannot able to create? So when you are creating a zero parameterized constructor of child, what it will do, it will try to create a zero parameterized constructor of parent class, the compiler, but it cannot able to do because it has one parameter already. So the error will go in two ways. What I can do, either I can write zero parameterized constructor in my class. Otherwise, what I can do, I
You
can
comment out. Yeah, you comment
comment
out
out
this one. Yes.
one
Yeah.
constructor that will go.
Mm.
So what happens now in the super class, you don't have any constructors. So that is the reason your compiler can create the zero parameterized constructor. You got the things. I think
Yeah,
hopefully
I
you.
agree. I agree with you. I missed this point.
Yes, yes. So you are telling everything fine, Mike. So
Yeah,
you are
yeah.
exactly
But
whatever explaining is exactly correct. But you are not telling the point that I was requiring.
that's right.
But what you said is exactly right, Mike.
Mm.
So we'll go to the next concept. That is nothing but your package. So we'll see access specifiers. So to understand, to know this access specifiers, we need to first have understanding of your this what you say your access specifiers, or you call this as access modifiers. For this, you need an understanding of your package. Access modifiers. Anything is same, access specifiers or access modifiers. So what is a package is nothing but a simple word, a simple thing. It's nothing but a group of classes. So why I need to group a class? So generally when you take real-time application, so what happens when you are doing an application? So you will have a requirements, right? Like you need to group some classes together, right? And that classes together grouping becomes as a package, and grouping all the packages together, it becomes as a project, and grouping all the projects together, it becomes as an application. So a base element is nothing but your class. So for example, this is my class. So assume that I just want to do some application. So for that, I need some packages to be grouped under. I need some classes to be grouped under one package, right? So the package is nothing but a group of classes. If you see here in SRS folder, I have a package that is nothing but my com.examples is a package. And in this, I have a lot of classes, right? So similarly, if you see demo 3,
Okay.
oh,
Why? Like, can I ask question?
yes, Mike, exactly.
Like, why we need like a package concept? Like if we don't have package, we can still create all the class, right?
Yes,
And
yes,
when we need you can call from the code, like like call as a class. And but why still we want to group a certain like amount of like
I'll tell
classes?
you the access specifiers. I'll tell you the access specifiers
Oh,
that
okay,
that will justify your why I need a package.
okay.
Okay.
Yeah.
So as of now, if you see, I have my demo one, right? So this is one of my project. So in this project, I'll be having two packages. One is my com.example is a package, and com.examples2 is one more package. So in this package, you see there are a lot of classes. And if you see com.example, this is my second package, and you see there are some more classes here, right? So whenever you want to do a project may consisting of lot of packages. So every package will have a specific classes, and all the this is nothing but one of the project. So all the project together, you do an application, right? So because when you see any Amazon or Flipkart or any application that you see, so any shopping cart application, that application will be you see it one, but what happens? There are several steps that was involved in it, right? So when you want to book an order, what happens? You do booking an order. So when you do booking of an order, what happens? It has to track your timing, so that your order is one of the steps. So you consider that as a project or something, right? And after that, you do what you do. That order has to be doing tracking. So so when the good has to be arrived, and there should be some tracking of that your order. So that may consider you as a one project, right? So internally, there are a lot of things has to be happen to track your order, right? So it has to communicate with some other module or something. There internally a lot of things has to happen. So these things may be under in a package, right? And you will be at the end you do a delivery, right? There are several steps involved, but I'm just taking it in 3 steps. A delivery may be one of the project, right? In that project also you may have a lot of packages and a lot of classes. So why I need this package and classes concept, I'll let you know whenever I tell you the access specifier. So it is just to make that accessibility, right? So uh, in an application, how it will, the main thing is nothing but your access. So a class should have an access to some particular classes, and I'll have a method or a class to should not be accessing to some other particular things. So at the beginning of beginning of your Java programming, as I told you, maybe in the introduction demo, I told you, like for example, when the difficulties in C programming languages, whenever you have some method or some variables, so what happens, you cannot make that access to only to particular methods, right? So it is really difficult to do that in C programming language, procedure programming language. But when it comes to the object oriented programming language, you can easily do that. So for example, I have a method. So what I want, I that method or a variable, I just want that to be accessed by only by few of the classes, right? I don't want that method to be accessed by some other classes. So I will have this kind of requirements in whenever I do a real-time application. So this can be met easily by using your access specifiers, right? So so as of now, package is nothing but a group of classes, so we group that under the package. And for example, I just want to so for example, you have a class, so I have a package com dot examples one. So in this I have a comma b comma c classes, and I have one more package. You can take com dot examples 2. This is one more package, and you may have some classes like d, e, f, and your requirement could be, right, I have an a class, I have a class a. In this class a, I just want to use the method which is present in my d, right? Some non-static method or some of the method that is present in your D class. So whenever I want to communicate to a class D, so this is nothing but communication between your classes. So what I need to do, first of all, if for example, I just want to communicate with a class B, I can directly do that. So communication is something like I can create an object and call a method. That is nothing but my communication. Assume that class A want to communicate with the class B. So this both are in the same package. So communication is nothing but you assume that there is one of the method over here, M1 method is present over here, and you want to call this M1 method. So assume that it may be a non-static method. So what I'll do, I'll create that object, and what I'll do, I'll call b.m1. So to call the non-static method, obviously you need to create an object. So before this is what we've done in the one class itself. For example, we what we have seen in these cases, all these classes, we have created the object of child class in the same class, right? So but when in a real time in real time projects, you will not be doing it in the same class. So from another class, you create the other class object and you call the methods that are available. So this is nothing but your communication between two objects. So here your A and B belongs to the same package. So for me, it is not required me to import that class because they belong to the same package. So in the same,
Sorry,
you want to have some.
yes, class B in your example, class B is the child class of class A, right?
No. There is no relationship. Don't think that there is a.
Okay.
So
Okay.
A is different class and B is different class. So
Okay.
for example, you have com.example. This is a package. Abstract txt, addition. So what all these are nothing but the classes. If you see, there is no relationship between your addition and abstract txt. There is
Well,
nothing.
I got you. Now I got you. Yes.
So there is not like child and parent.
Yeah.
So
I
from
got it.
addition,
I got it.
addition this solves, I can call these methods, right?
Yes.
So this is nothing but your communication between your classes. So whenever this both belongs to the same class, so it is not required you to import that object. But what happens, it is you need to import, for example, I just want to call the method that is present in D, right? So it means I need to create a D object, right? So whenever I just want to create a D object, what it should have to do is nothing but I just has to do import that com. So where the D is present in this package, com dot examples dot D. So what it will do, it is going to get the class to this D class will be getting imported to the class here, and then you can able to create that object. And this is present in, so this A is in present in your uh, so this A is present in the package called, so package called com dot examples. So the class which is present in com dot example has to communicate with the class which is present in com dot examples too. So then I need to import that package, import that class from that package, and I can able to create an object. Without importing, I cannot able to do that. I cannot able to create that object. And for example, you want to create E object, you want to create F object, then you need to import that individually. Assume that I just want all the objects I'm using. For example, in this com.example2, there are 3 classes. I want to use all the 3 classes. Instead of that, you just put it as a star. So it means all the classes get imported. For example, you want a particular class, just dot with dot that particular class. It depends on your requirement. So whether you don't want all the classes, then you need to be imported with individually. When you want all the classes, you have to put it as a star. So you can see these things many times. So for example, you see this addition is a where this is present. This is present in my com dot first example. So this is the place it was present. So assume that in this addition class, I just want to create this constructor exe object. Whether I want to import it? No, because they belongs to both the same package. So I can able to create that object. And I can able to call the methods which are present over here. So if you see, there is nothing import required for me. But for example, when you want to just a minute. So assume that in this, I am just creating a one more package. I'm creating a package. So the package name, I'm just giving it as com.examples2. So this is my package name. So you see there is a package got created. So in this package, you can write a class. So something class.test. I'm writing a class called test. So now if you want to create this object in the addition class, so I need to do import test equals to test. So I'm just trying to create that object. So it will show me an input thing. So what it is asking me to do import, you can see import com.examples2. So test, so the test is present in other class also. The test is some other. So but what we need, we want the test from this package itself. So I just do import. You can see that import in the top gets imported. right? So this is a package concept. Are you clear, Mike?
Yeah. I understand what you are talking about. Yes.
So you have now access specifiers. So in this access specifiers or access modifiers, you have generally you have many, but like we'll see for access specifier: public, default, protected, and private. So these are the four access specifiers you generally have. So you, you can apply this access specifiers at two levels. Two levels. One is at class level, and the next one is at method level. So we'll see first at class level. So class level applying this access specifiers. So I can write class level applying means whenever I write a class, I can before that class I can write an access specifier. For example, I will write a class A. So before this class A, you can able to write an access. You will be writing an access specifier. Okay. So this is nothing but applying my access specifier at a class level. So whenever you write an access specifier at a class level, that class can be accessed anywhere. It means outside the package. I can able to access this class outside the package, right? If it is public, right? And you have one more thing is default. So whenever I don't write anything inside my class of before my class, then your access specifier is default. So whenever your access specifier is default, you cannot able to access it. It means you cannot able to import even from the outside the package. That can be accessible within inside the package. So I cannot access that outside the package whenever it is default. You got me right? So I'll just show with an example. So for example, you have this test class, right? So now what is this? This is public. So that is the reason here you can able to create an object. In addition class, uh, so you can able to create an object because this is public. So outside the package, that is the reason you can able to do that, right? Assume that if it is default, it means I remove this public. Now what is my access specifier? This is default. So whenever it is default, you cannot able to create that object outside the package. So com.a first example is outside the package, right? So now in the addition.c, it will show me an error. It is like it is not visible itself. We cannot able to create that. So you cannot see the test com.example. So whenever it is default, you cannot able to create that. So I'll just write a public here. Now that error will go. So now what happens in addition class? Yes, I can able to do that. So you don't see that error, right? The error has gone because now the access specifier is public. So whenever it is public, that can be accessed outside the package. Whenever it is default, it can be accessed within the package only. So it means some other class. So for example, in this test in com.example, I have some other class. Then that class can only have that access to it when it is default. Default means within the package. Public means outside the package. Public, package, and default. is within the package. The package. So public means within the package also you can access it. So I made it as default. So what I can do in, so what I made here I made it as assume that then I can able to access it from test to, yes you can, because they belongs to the both belongs to the same package. Now you can access the test. Yes, now you can access this test, but this test cannot be accessed in addition because addition belongs to the different package. See that. So here you so this is nothing but your access specifier public and default at a class level, and you cannot able to apply your private and protected at a class level. If I'm trying to apply private and protected at my class level, it will show me an error. So we'll see why it is not allowed me. I'll explain you, but as of now you can understand the private it was not allowed. So if I write a private to a class, it will show me an error. That access specifier is not allowed. So if you see illegal modifier for the class, only only public abstract final are protected. So if I'm trying to write a protected also, it will show me. Because these two are not allowed, only default and public. Why? We'll see later on once I discuss with the method level. So we'll see why it is not allowed at class level. But as of now, are you clear, Mike? Or any confusions do you have?
No, I think it's clear for me.
Now we'll see the second level, that is at method level. So in this method level, whatever the concept that you discussed for the class, public default, the same concept applies to the method also. It means, so assume that you have a some void m1 method over here. So assume this is public method. You had something like void m2 method, and this is nothing but your default method. So what is the concept of public? That if there is something as a public, you can access that outside the package also. If it is default, you cannot access. Assume that this my class is public. It means I can able to access it, right? But when I can able to access it, but I can access only m1 method. I cannot access m2 method. So you see inside m1, I'm just writing inside m1 and there's nothing but inside m2. Right? So in this addition class, so what you can do, you have created the test object, right? So you don't worry about other things. So you created this test object. So can you tell me which method I can able to access from this addition class?
Uh, oh, hello.
So yes, Mike. Can you
Mm,
tell me? I have test object. I have a test, so which is public.
yeah. Please give.
That's the
Okay.
reason you can able to create an object. And in this test class, you have two methods. One is M1 and one is M2. So your
Okay.
M1, the purpose of creating an object is nothing but to call the methods, right? So the main
Yes.
purpose of
Mm,
creating an object is to call the methods that is present in your test class.
okay.
So
Okay.
I have an M2, which is M1 is public and M2 is default. So,
Yes. Mm,
so addition is outside the package. This
okay.
addition. So from this, I have created a test object because it's a public. So can you say which method I can able to access and which method I cannot able to access here?
Did you import the package?
I imported the package.
You import the example 2, right? Here. Okay.
Yes.
Okay. 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 In this case, I think. Okay. In this case, I think you can call a public method, but you cannot call the default one.
Exactly. So if you see, I can able to call M1 method. Your M1 is the only method that is visible. So if you are trying to call T2.M2, it will show me an error. Why? Because your M2 is a default. So you cannot access that outside the package. So if you made that as a public, then you can. If I'll write it as a public, then you can. So now in this case, if I made it as a public, so that error will go. If it is a default, you cannot. But from test, whether it is a public or so from test to, but from test to, yes, I can do. Whether it is a public default, don't worry. From test to, I can do because test to belongs to the same package. So in test 2, I can access M1 and M2. Whether it is a public default, not worry because they belong to the both the same package. The same concept what you do for method. But if your class is not public and both the methods are public, it is not the use. Assume that I have two methods are public. So the first step is nothing but creating an object. So here the class is default. So whether your public method or a default method, it does not matter. You cannot able to access that because the first step you cannot able to create an object itself. So there is no creation of object. There is not going for accessing methods, right? That is pointless. First it checks at a class level, then it will be at a method. All right, Mike.
Mm, yeah.
So we have one more thing that is private, right? So whenever you made a method as a private, it cannot be accessed outside the class. So it is not the outside the package. It's obviously you cannot do. So whenever you cannot able to do outside the class, obviously you cannot able to do it outside the package. So whenever a method is private, you cannot access that outside the class itself. So it means I have a test class. In this test class, my M2 is a private method. So whenever there is a private method, even I cannot access it from test2. So even both they are in the same package because it's a private method, only accessibility within the class itself. So if you see, I am trying to call T2 dot, I can call M1 method, but you cannot see that M2 I cannot able to call it. T2 dot M2. I cannot able to call it, should show me an error. So you can see this is not visible itself. There is no method, we cannot see that method because this is my private method over here. So if I make it as public or default, then you can. Then you can able to access it. Private accessibility is only within the class. So the name is specifying it, right? Access modifiers are accessibility. It specifies it is going to specify what is the range of that method. So from where you can able to access it. within the package or outside the package or within the class. So that are specified by your acceptance layer, right? So the next thing that left is nothing but the protected. So the protected is also the same way like your private. The one difference is nothing but for a protected method, what you can do, you can access that protected method in an indirect way. What is the indirect way? By using the super keyword. So you have this tester class. Assume that I'm making my. Are you clear with private, right, Mike?
Yeah. Private is straightforward. Yeah, private,
Yes.
because basically the private one you can only use within this class and don't think other things. That's it.
Yes. You cannot able to use it in
Anywhere
any.
else.
Yes, anywhere else. Extends
Yep.
my test. So we are
But
now.
protected, I still didn't get it.
No, I have not started explaining
Oh,
protected.
okay.
No, I have not started it. I just written a protected keyword. So assume
Yeah.
that your method is protected. So when your method is protected, even you cannot access that outside that package, right? Some test too I cannot able to. Protected should not be. Okay. The protected can be accessed only in indirect way. So what is the indirect way means? You will be creating that object and access it. Sorry, you will be creating a child parent and you'll access it. For example, I'll create a test child and I'll create test. So in that way, I'll be accessing that protected. So what I'll do, I'll just do that overriding. And inside M2 of parent. So this, this is nothing but my overriding. Right? And so from here, what I'll do, I'll just call super.m2. So assume that if it is private, even you cannot do that. Super.m2 also you cannot call it. It will show an error because even the child class cannot get that private method because it's only to that particular class. You can see. But when it is protected,
even a child one cannot.
yes, that's what. If you see,
Oh, it's very very strict, very strict.
Very strict. It is only should be inside the class. That's it.
Only that class. Okay.
So we'll see how to access that. How do you change that values? There are a lot of things. We'll see that. So if you write it protected, you can able to call it from the child class. So neither the child is from same package or not, but you can able to call. The calling is nothing but in indirect way. So super.m2. So this makes this gets executed super.m2. And I say super.m2, your inside M2 of parent gets executed, right? So I'll, this example. So what I'll do, I'll just create a test child object. T.m2. So now which M2 will be called? It is going to call your child M2 method. So from this child M2 method, what you are doing, you are calling your parent M2. Sorry, I should write it as here child. So first it will call your parent, then it is going to execute your child. The same concept again. Whatever you use it for super, the same concept. I can generally run over here, but I got habituated.
I have one question here.
Yes, yes.
Okay, it's not about this concept. My question is actually about if you see the left side, the hierarchy, okay, right? Like you see the example 2 package, right?
Yes.
And
Common.
okay, yeah, and then we have a test Java class, right? Test class.
Yes, yes.
And my question is below it. So because now we have test parent class and as well as test child class, right? We have two.
Yes, yes.
My question is here. My question is when these two separated, it will the compiler will do it automatically, right? The Eclipse do it right? It automatically when you create the child class, it will automatically separate these two test and the test child two classes, right?
Yes, yes. So once I
Okay.
created a class test child extend, so automatically inside the test, it's going to create that dot class files.
It will
Actually,
show. It will present like this.
yes, yes.
Okay.
So
Okay. Mm,
all this test child and test is nothing but your dot class files. So this is nothing but your dot Java file. So
mm,
whenever you do a compiling, so you see this is C, right? So this is nothing but your dot class files.
mm,
So your dot class file is nothing but, so whenever you do a compile of your Java code, it will generate a dot class file. So that dot class file will be it will have some code where your compiler will understand that. So I'll just show it. So
yeah.
once
Now, yes, I got the yes. You answered my question. Yes, yes. Like because I didn't notice when it separate like this because we only have test, right? We don't have test child class, but it
yes, yes,
but it
yes, yes.
automatically generated.
Yes, yes. So
Okay.
whenever you compile thing, for example, every time when you write it, automatically it gets compiling, right? So because
Mm,
of this, so whenever you compile it, it gets it will generate a dot class file. So you don't worry about Java file. Generally, you need to worry about the dot class files. So if you see for everything you have a dot class file. This constructor.exe is a dot Java file. This
mm,
constructor.exe is nothing but your dot class file actually. So
mm,
this
mm.
is not your Java file. So we'll
Oh,
see
I see.
what is
Yes, yes. Java file and the class file.
dot class file. So dot
Uh,
class file will have a code where your compiler will understand it. So if
mm,
you see here that there's Java file, here you have two dot class files.
yes.
This is your protected. So whenever you have an access specifier protected, you just access it in an indirect way. So the purpose of why there is a question I left in the middle, right? So the question is you cannot write private and protected to a class level. Why? Because the main purpose of class is to get accessible for someone, right? So whenever you have a class, that class should be accessible to other classes, right? So because when you make a class, that has to be communicated, that will have a methods, that methods will be called when you do an application. It should generally will call from another class and they will be using it, right? So whenever you make it as a private, the whole concept of class gets um obstacle, right? So that is the reason they avoided private or protected for a class level. So why they given it for a method level is because, so whenever you make a class, you in the class you may have different kinds of methods. So for example, whenever you do some operations, for example, what is a common operation like the CURD operations that you generally do in a class? Assume that you have in a class, in that you do CURD operations like CURD create, update, delete, something else. So that read operation that you do will be public. That read operation can be performed by any class. So for example, when you want to read something from any website, you can able to do it. That read is a common operation or a public operation that anyone can able to do it. But whenever you want to do an update, delete, some kind of action, so creating an action, that cannot be done from anywhere. So you should have a restrictions on that. So in that case, they make it as a private, they make it as a default. So whenever you do an application also, you will have this kind of specifications, you will have this kind of restrictions. So you need, whenever you in a same class, you have to write a public method, you have to write a private method, you need to write a protected method. So it is all depends on your requirement. And why you asked in the beginning, why what is a reason of this concept is because of mainly you see this because to specify the accessibility, right? I want some methods to be, so generally the class has nothing to do. So every logic that you need written in a method itself. So to a method, though your method is the thing where your class is the one which will going to hold that virtual thing, right? So sorry, class is the virtual thing which will hold your methods logic, right? So here you want some particular methods to not be accessed by some particular classes or a method from other class, something like that. So in that case, what you do, you group these methods in some particular class and you group that in a one package and you do group in another package, right? It is all based on your requirement, and at the end of your application you make a proper application where you have the different accessibilities for a different classes and a different packages. Is my answer got satisfied? Is your question got satisfied, Mike?
Yeah. Basically, it's try to protect your code, something like that.
Yes, protect your methods, like
Yeah, protect everything. Protect everything. That's
protect.
why, yeah, divided into like different packages to basically to protect in certain levels to protect your code, your functions, your methods.
Yes, exactly.
It's like protection, protection of how, something like a protection of how to use your code,
Yes,
your method.
exactly. Exactly. So it is like you don't want all the methods. For example, in a class, you will have some restrictions to some methods. So for example, you make one method as a private, you make one method public, you make one method as a private. It means I just want the code which is present in this method to be accessible by everyone. So for example, this is my read operation or something. So whenever you want to do a read operation, it should be a public domain, right? It can be accessed. But when I just want to do a create thing, so the create cannot be done by everyone, right? It should only particular user or particular class can have an accessibility of create. So that you make it as a private. So no one can able to do create from other classes like that. So you use this private in a constructors, you use this in singleton classes. So it is not only met to a method, it is generally you can write it in a constructor level. So that makes more sense. You understand the concept that in more way. So we'll see what is that. You see some singleton class. So that way you use this protected. So I'll just tell you what is that singleton class also. Okay.
Okay. Yeah.
Okay. I think can
Yeah.
we
I think.
wind up?
Yeah. Sure. Can you please send me the note, Suya, before we just.
Okay. I have not written much note. It was very simple lines only.
Okay. It's okay. It's okay. It's like it's good enough. Like I just take like a running note just to make
Okay.
sure
So
that.
try to make it as elaborated or something that if you want.
Yeah. I
So,
will update.
so can you just you just want to share me the code also?
Which code?
That code, like I think it's not required. Class code and all these things. This code, what I'm talking about, this simple. I think you can able to write it. Test code and test2 code. These things I'm talking.
I think that's fine.
That's
Just
fine.
a note. Yeah, just a note. Thank you. Yeah,
So
because I think
note.
because this one is mainly the concept. Because
Yes.
the concept is the most. I think you need to understand that. Yeah.
And if you see in the note also for some example class D, you can able to understand it, right? Because I have not written in a proper way. I just done all the concepts. So you just make that understanding clearly actually.
Yeah. I got your point. Got your point. When like basically when you want to import a certain like class or you want to import a package, something like that.
Yes. So try to copy it and try to make it the note as a proper one, because this is not a proper one. I have not given it a proper way, right? So try to
Okay.
copy
Yes.
your, try to write it in a proper way. I think you understood it, right? So you can make it very good in a good way.
Okay.
Okay. Okay. I'm stopping the recording. Fine.
Okay. Yeah. Thank you.